Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on ESTCP FY 2025 funding opportunities. My name is Laura Mack, and I will be moderating today's session. So we'll just get started in a few moments, but while we wait for others to join, I'm going to cover a few logistical items. So today's broadcast will be listen only. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, but at any time you can submit a question using the Q&A box on the black control panel at the bottom of your screen. You can submit a question at any time during the presentation, and we'll try to answer all questions during the final Q&A session. We will not be able to answer any questions about specific proposal ideas or technologies during this webinar. If you run into any technical problems, please send your issues through the chat box, which is also on your control panel. Please note that both the audio and the presentation of today's sessions will be archived on our solicitation webpage in case you would like to refer to them in the future. I'll now turn it over to the Director of ESTCP, Dr. Kim Spangler, for opening remarks.
Hello. Want to thank you all for joining us here today. We certainly look forward to these annual webinars that we do. Thank you all for taking the time to come today. I'll be very brief and say that CERDIP and ESTCP depend on the innovation of the nation and the globe. And we're very grateful that you've joined us for this webinar to learn more about our process, learn more about our programs, and we certainly look forward to the great ideas that you'll be proposing. Over to you, Dr. Leeson.
Great, thank you, Kim. And at this time, let me go through the webinar. What I would like to do is introduce first who will be speaking today. We have myself as Deputy Director, as well as the Program Manager, Environmental Restoration. Kevin Hires is with us. He will be presenting on two top program areas, both climate resilience as well as resource conservation and resilience. We have Tim Tatro, who is the Program Manager for the Installation, Energy, and Water program area. David Bradley, who manages the Munitions Response program area, as well as John LaScala, who manages the Weapons Systems and Platforms. So I'll really be covering three different areas, and not just me by myself, as well as with the program areas. We'll introduce a little bit about ESTCP, talk a little bit about how the process works with our solicitation, and then each program manager is going to cover the topic areas that were released under their program area as well. At the end, we'll answer as many questions as we can about the various, the process itself or the topic areas as well. So ESTCP is here to support the Department of Defense's primary mission, which is to maintain the military force capable of deterring conflict and ensuring the nation's security. And to carry out this mission, the military departments have to have access to these essential resources: energy, land, air, and water. And ESTCP is here through our research and demonstrations to support that mission and to make sure access to those resources is maintained. We are a companion program with CERDIP, which you may already be familiar with. The Strategic Environmental Research and Development Program is our research branch. And under this program, or CERDIP, we identify and address priority environmental science and technology issues that focus on DoD requirements. ESTCP, or the Environmental Security Technology Certification Program, capitalizes on those investments that occurred under CERDIP or other research programs. And what we do is we transition those technologies out of the lab into the field, where we can collect cost and performance data that is closer to a full-scale level. I can't emphasize enough that CERDIP and ESTCP are definitely operating with leaders throughout the field. In FY23 alone, we funded nearly 100 different federal performers, 77 academic institutions, over 50 industry partners, and we are looking at 58 universities that are classified as R1 that we've also funded. We have found that CERDIP and ESTCP work is cited more than 10 times than the average publication. And we are using the ESTCP and CERDIC research portfolios to support and inform the DoD policy as well as interagency policy. So these are the focus areas listed here that we address under CERDIC and ESTCP. We look at issues associated with PFAS and AFFF, installation restoration, installation resilience, resource conservation, installation energy innovation, resilient water systems, UXO or unexploded ordnance response and remediation, and then weapons systems and platforms. And with the topic areas we'll present on at the end, you'll see how they cross through these various programming areas. We are able to fund, generally I say almost anyone, and our solicitation you'll see is divided into these three areas. We fund the Department of Defense, we fund other federal organizations outside the Department of Defense, and we also fund the private sector, universities and other private sector organizations. Our goals with the ESTCP program are that we want to demonstrate innovative, cost-effective environmental and installation technologies so that we can build on our past investments and transition technology out of the lab into the field. And we also, very importantly, are working on promoting implementation of those technologies through either direct technology insertion, or we're also looking to gain regulatory acceptance for those technologies. Priority is always the needs of the DoD user community. With our demonstrations, the desired technologies are that we can have a significant benefit from the demonstration on a DoD installation. We do require those demonstrations to very thoroughly assess the cost and performance of the technology. And then from that demonstration, we use that information to accelerate the commercialization and the broader adoption of the technology. It's very important that you realize that mature commercial technologies that are already in use or they are very well established are in terms of operational cost and performance criteria. This is generally not appropriate for a demonstration and validation under ESTCP. We are looking to demonstrate technologies that still need to collect that sort of cost and performance data. So the methodology we use under ESTCP to have the most effective demonstrations is that we partner with the stakeholders and we test at DoD's facilities. And what we try to do, those stakeholders include the regulators, various end users, the developer of the technology, et cetera, so that we can have a very robust partnership with all those various stakeholders. We are very careful about the validation of the operational cost and performance, and we'll cover a little bit about what that requires. And then we're also looking to identify DoD market opportunities, and that is the whole technology transfer portion of our work. So what is required under an ESTCP project? We have formal demonstration plans. And guidance for these demonstration plans is provided on our website, and there's a link to them as well in the guidance for preparing pre-proposals. And what we're looking at in the demonstration plans is we want detailed performance objectives. We conduct an independent review of those demonstration plans, and it's a very thorough process. The technology demonstration itself is then executed where we collect the cost and performance data, and we've agreed on what will be collected in the demonstration plan itself. All projects are required then as well to develop a final report that covers both the technical performance as well as the cost factors involved with the project. And then we also provide support for transition of the technology to gain regulatory or to assist in that regulatory and end user acceptance. We do guidance and training, et cetera, on those successful technologies. The solicitation process itself is presented here in a broad overview. We have the three different solicitations that go out. As I mentioned, the broad agency announcement is for the private sector, the Department of Defense call, and then the federal organizations outside the DoD call. A pre-proposal is requested. This is a short 5-page white paper sort of document We ask for a shorter pre-proposal so that we can get a better idea of what you're proposing to make sure it meets up with our requirements before you go into the larger effort of a full proposal. We down select on the pre-proposal, and a subset of pre-proposals received, we will ask for a full proposal. All full proposals that are requested will come in to brief the technical committee for ESTCP, and then from there, the selections are made. Shown here are the key dates. This is provided online as well. I just want to emphasize when the pre-proposals are due on March 7th at 2 p.m. ET. That is a hard deadline. They are due online through our online reporting system called SEMS. And then the rest of this timeline proceeds through that the down select process. Final project selection is generally made in the October, November timeframe in the fall, with project initiation the following spring. So roughly for the BAA and the call for proposals for federal organizations that are outside of the DoD, they follow a process where we have the call for technologies with the topic areas that we're going to discuss at the end of the webinar. Everyone prepares a written pre-proposal from which those are down selected. Some comments are generally provided on the pre-proposal as well, rather broad comments about modifying that topic on the way to the full proposal. For under the BAA and for the federal organizations outside DoD, the program office will identify DoD liaisons to assist in the development of a full proposal in terms of assisting with access to DoD sites to help people come up with at least a short list for sites that they'll need to look at for a full project, as well as to assist with technology transition and how that might look. And then you go into the selection process of a full proposal. The DoD call for the proposals is very similar in that we release the call for demonstration projects. We get the pre-proposal in, which are down selected to a full proposal, but there is no DoD liaison assigned, of course, since the entities are coming from the DoD, and then you go into the selection process of a full proposal. The selection criteria are shown here. These are also published criteria. And let me cover them just quickly. Most importantly, in some ways, is the relevance. It's very important that if a pre-proposal is submitted, it is relevant to the topic areas that were released. So please be very careful that you have answered the intent of those topic areas. We also look at whether the topic is appropriate for a demonstration in terms of a pass-fail. And this is really looking at the technology maturity. Is it too mature for an ESTCP demonstration, or conversely, is more research needed before it could really be ready? So we look at that as well. Technical merit, though, if you pass those two gates, is the most important, and we look at the technical merit, and then cost benefit, transition potential, and the cost itself. So the hallmarks of a competitive proposal are that it clearly addresses a topic area. The demonstration questions are very well defined. We understand what needs to be done in a demonstration. We are looking that there is a significant benefit from the technology itself, that there would be reduced costs in the long term with particular operations at the DoD, or with development of a new technology, or improved performance of an existing technology, and that it's technically sound, that the technology description is thorough and detailed, performance objectives are provided and they're well defined, and the technical approach itself is very detailed. So let's go in now to the specific ESTCP topics, and each program manager at this point is going to present on and give a little bit of an overview of their topic. If you have questions on the topic areas, you should contact the relevant program manager, and their contact information is provided within the solicitation. The program managers can answer questions that are in general about the process of submitting, or if you have a question about the topic, if something is not quite clear to you. What we cannot do is vet any proposal before it's submitted. That would be a violation of our solicitation process. So please, if you do have questions, please know we cannot comment on your topic before it's submitted. Don't send that in separate, but we can answer any questions about the process or general questions about the topic itself. I'm going to cover one topic area that's of general interest and is applicable to anyone submitting under either the BAA, federal organizations outside DoD, or DoD organizations, and that is our innovative technology transfer approaches. We are always looking for new and better ways to transition our technologies into the end user, and we're particularly interested in innovative technology transfer approaches. Target, and what we'd look like people to think about are how best to target the communities of interest. Who are the communities of interest? What are the barriers to adoption of a particular technology, and therefore what kind of transfer approach would you recommend? Different information needs, etc. There's a few things to think about, and if you go to our website, you'll see various different technology transition approaches that have been developed over the years, from podcasts to different short courses to different apps. So I really encourage you to try to think outside the box to how we can better transition technology. So this topic is applicable throughout all the program areas. At this point, though, let me move into environmental restoration. And we have one topic that we released under the BAA and the federal call outside the DoD, and that is looking at the management of impacted soils and waters. What we're looking for are technologies that will reduce the cost of managing the DoD's long-term liability associated with soils and waters impacted by chemicals of concern. And there's many specific topics of interest within this that are listed within the topic area. A particular concern over the past several years has been PFAS. And you'll see at the bottom of this slide is a link to a strategic workshop report that was on management of PFAS in the environment. And in that report, what we were doing is identifying research and demonstration needs and technology transfer needs that we envisioned over the next 5 years or so. The link to that workshop report has just been put in the chat. I certainly encourage folks who are interested in submitting under this topic area to take a look at that summary report and look at the different demonstration and tech transfer needs that were identified over the years. Under the DoD call, we have a number of different areas under environmental restoration, including monitoring, reduction in cost to complete, reduction of source loading of munitions constituents, stormwater treatment, wastewater treatment, and risk assessment. And these are further defined in the topic area, but these are only open to folks from the DoD to submit under these different topic areas. And again, I would refer you to the strategic workshop report as noted at the bottom of this slide. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our program manager for munitions response, David Bradley. And Dave, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. And hello, everyone. The general funding opportunities for munitions response have not changed significantly. However, as we move into live sites, three things need to be considered. First is working closely with service representatives, Army, Navy, Air Force, as the case may be, that have responsibility for the site itself. The second is responsive to the safety concerns given the energetics that are involved. And then finally, reacting to the geophysical uniqueness of each site is also important. And with that brief overview, let me turn it over to climate resilience and Kevin.
Thank you, Dave, and good afternoon, everybody. The Climate Resilience Program for ESTCP is a relatively new program. over the past year, we've had several topics for soliciting topics and proposals for a variety of areas. But this year, there's only one open topic under the Climate Resilience Program. Next slide. We are looking for analysis of material and non-material heat island resilience solutions, specifically testing and evaluating the efficacy of the topics listed here: cool roofs and pavement, trees and vegetation, solar canopies, complex multi-tech strategies across cantonment areas, modeling, or other policy strategies or adjustments that can reduce exposure to heat extremes. Next slide. Under the Resource Conservation and Resilience Program for federal and broad agency performers, we have 2 open topic areas this year. Next slide. The first is advancing DoD cultural resource management, looking for efficiencies for properties and project management. This continues our support for advanced technologies to improve the efficiency of cultural resource compliance. Specifically, we're looking for demonstration and validation of technologies that enhance data management and analysis for project tracking and management of cultural resources at multiple scales, implementation of new and emerging methods and procedures to adapt cultural resource compliance that are, and adapt and respond to cultural resource needs in a rapidly changing environment. Looking for advanced remote sensing technologies or machine learning algorithms that enhance the efficiency of cultural resource surveys. Specifically this year, we're targeting techniques to identify and manage sunken military craft that meet cultural compliance criteria, and technologies for historic property rehabilitation and maintenance. Next slide. The second topic released under resource conservation and resilience is nature-based solutions for climate resilience in DoD arid landscapes. Specifically, we're looking for demonstration and validation of advanced and emerging nature-based solutions for improving stormwater runoff and management, recovery of disturbed cryptogamic crusts and native vegetation, enhancing the control of invasive exotic species, reducing wildfire risk, and improving threatened and endangered species management. Next slide. For DoD-only organizations, we have an open topic. Next slide. Encouraging investigators to submit proposals addressing either of the open BAA topics. Next slide. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Dr. John Lascala, who runs our weapon systems and platforms.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'll be talking about 2 particular topics that we have as broad agency announcements and call for proposals for federal organizations outside of the DoD. The first one here is focused on demonstration and validation of corrosion mitigation solutions. So here we're talking about demonstration or we want to demonstrate sustainable corrosion mitigation technologies that have a reduced environmental impact and help reduce the cost of corrosion for the DoD. We're looking for a systems engineering approach towards corrosion mitigation because we feel that this not only will help reduce DoD corrosion costs, but will enable us to more effectively remove chemicals and various species that have an effect on the environment. One particular area of concern is the area of joints or where dissimilar materials come together. Galvanic couples often occur there, so improved methodologies to join these dissimilar materials and reduce corrosion and reduce the use of corrosion inhibiting compounds, et cetera, is something that we're strongly looking towards. Another area is this improved methodologies to reduce the exposure of corrosion susceptible alloys to corrosive environments. So in other words, how do we reduce the corrosivity of the particular environment to the alloys that are there at a particular location? You obviously can't move the location, but how can you potentially make the environment locally around the assets less corrosive? And the other area is to use materials with increased corrosion resistance. So we make a lot of use of lightweight alloys like aluminum and magnesium, as well as steels that aren't lightweight, but still corrosion susceptible. All three of those alloys are very corrosion susceptible, but they have excellent performance for a variety of other reasons. At the same time, various different alloys can be manufactured that might have higher corrosion performance, but would also need to meet the key structural and performance requirements. So that's something we would look at, especially for particular parts. And the last area is corrosion resistant sealants and flexible primers that have an ability to reduce corrosion rates. Sealants are definitely a way to kind of handle some dissimilar materials. Flexible primers, we had a lot of potentially some brittleness with some of our primers that potentially causes some of these galvanic issues to be worse than we would hope. With all that, in particular, we do not want to see proposals that are focused on just individual, say, pre-treatments or protective primers that are not flexible. So more standard protective primers and the use of corrosion prevention compounds. Any of those on their own is not of interest for us, but if they're combined in a way and examining those 5 bullets there, meet any of those criteria, that's something that we would be looking for. The proposal should include a plan to conduct a sustainability analysis. We'd like to really understand the cost effectiveness and the environmental benefits associated with the particular work. The team must include DoD personnel or DoD prime contract companies that really have an understanding of the weapon system and platform that this technology would be utilized on. Next slide. So the second broad agency announcement topic here is focused on demonstration and validation of PFAS-free foams for firefighting. And here we want to develop promising PFAS-free firefighting agents in accordance with the mil spec 32725, fluorine-free foam specification with the goal of achieving improved performance with increased sustainability and reduced cost and environmental effects. So we're looking for improved formulations that reduce the extinguishment time for a fire, for these fuel fires, as well as increase the burn back time. And that asterisk there is these formulations must have passed the 28-foot square test detailed in the mil spec, and there should be objective quality evidence that shows this in the proposal. We're also looking at improved formulations that can be diluted with seawater. The current specification really focuses on fresh water. The use of seawater would be beneficial for a number of applications. We're also looking at improved formulations that have increased stability and compatibility with other fluorine-free foams so that they can be more universally used. Then we're also looking for alternative equipment that can improve the performance of these fluorine-free formulations and make them more effective in firefighting. And then lastly, we're looking at premix formulations. So all, according to the specification, these are concentrates that get diluted with water upon use. But there are some applications where we would like to have a premix formulation that is already diluted to the content it needs to be diluted to and ready to be sprayed. And that needs to have a substantial shelf life as well. So in this particular area, the projects must involve at least one DoD stakeholder. And as per the previous slide, we would like to see a sustainability analysis within the project. Next slide. So the next slide, we'll be talking about the call for proposals for DoD organizations. So here we're focused on a number of areas. Repair and maintenance. This includes a number of aspects, including corrosion that I talked about a few slides ago. Corrosion engineering solutions that reduce reliance on pretreatment and coatings. Consider a systems level approach, as well as we would fund validation of improved pretreatments and coatings and corrosion mitigation compounds, et cetera. We're also interested in DEM valve technologies that have an environmental benefit in the area of additive manufacturing to replace parts and improve coatings. Sustainable energetics is another area of interest. Here we want to develop alternative materials and manufacturing processes for energetic materials, monitor and control emissions from processes, and develop sustainable demilitarization technologies. Third area is refrigeration. We're looking for refrigerants for DoD. The current ones are either flammable or use HFCs that have high global warming potential, and we need non-flammable and minimal global warming potential. So we're looking for refrigerants and refrigeration technologies that are non-flammable and reduce our global warming potential. Firefighting, I talked about that a couple slides ago. We're looking at demonstration and validation of fluorine-free foam technologies as I previously discussed. And then other areas, if you have an idea that would be applicable to weapon systems and platforms that is demonstration and validation ready, that's definitely something we would be interested in considering. Proposals should estimate the environmental benefit of the technology and have a positive life cycle cost. Thus, we need a sustainability analysis as a part of that work. Next slide. And from here, I'd like to hand it over to our program manager for installation, energy, and water, Tim Tetro. Take it over, Tim.
Thanks, John. Hello, everybody. I will be covering the topics under the installation, energy, and water program area. And to start, we have the program is organized into three main technology focus areas. The first being installation energy resilience. The second is energy efficiency and building performance. And the third is water security. So there are three topics that you'll see in the following slides that are written generally for those technology areas. And then within those areas, we have a few more focused topics that are seeking solutions to specific challenges that we're interested in currently. In the program, we do not issue separate topics for DoD organizations, agencies. So all of these topics that I'm reviewing here are available to all respondents. Next slide, please. So the first, like I mentioned, this is the general topic, energy resilience on DoD installations. We're seeking to demonstrate technologies and approaches to improve energy resilience. And we have a number of examples of specific areas that we're interested in, although, like I said, this is a topic written intentionally broadly. And so we're interested in any solution that is informed by kind of the current state of energy resilience on installations and how we may improve that. Understanding that energy resilience itself is hard to measure, so we're looking for metrics in terms of energy system reliability, availability, and security to provide power to critical loads for particular durations. And in the top more detailed description online, you'll see some of those specs that we're interested in. Next slide. So this is a more targeted topic under the resilience topic area. Here we're looking for studies to collect and synthesize best practices for acquisition, performance validation, operation, and sustainment of DoD-owned microgrids. We're expecting and have plans to be building out more microgrids across our military installations. And we want to be prepared and prepare ourselves for the life cycle ownership and maintenance responsibilities that come along with that. There's a number of specific areas in here that we're interested in covering. We don't expect that a study or studies that are proposed will cover all of these subtopic areas, but they're listed here as kind of areas of particular interest, and respondents are invited to respond to just one of these and focus deeply on one, or cover more of them across a more comprehensive approach. Yeah, so next slide. So here's our general topic for energy efficiency and building performance. Again, written quite broadly, we're interested in demonstrating innovative technologies and solutions to increase energy efficiency and improve building performance. We have quite a large portfolio of buildings, and a variety of building types, vintages, and lots of different uses. So we expect that there's a variety of different technologies and solutions that would apply to our building portfolio, both in their building type, but also in based on climate zone. So in particular, to assist in technology transition, we are also interested in solutions that we believe are appropriate or eligible for implementation through energy savings performance contracts or utility energy services contracts, whereby the particular technology is able to generate sufficient energy cost savings to be financed over the course of a performance period and a performance contract. Next slide, please. Here's the next focus topic within energy efficiency. Here we're seeking to demonstrate cost-effective, repeatable approaches to designing and implementing building retrofits that achieve deep energy reductions, decarbonization, and improved performance. So this is a topic that we're interested in demonstrating design approaches. We don't intend to be, in this first phase anyway, funding the actual implementation of designs that are conducted for this effort, but we hope to, provided that we are able to get funding to do that. So the first focus here is on conducting the design using new design techniques, tools, but also informed by the best-in-class technologies to retrofit buildings to achieve these deep energy savings and decarbonization objectives. We expect that an outcome will be calibrated energy models of the buildings that are being designed, retrofits being designed. And importantly, we are interested in solutions that are scalable across the portfolio. So that might be based on either, like I mentioned earlier, solutions that are most appropriate for particular climate zones, or it may be solutions that are designed based on particular building use case or format, of which we have, like I mentioned, a lot of, for example, barracks that are similar design, have similar use cases, or small administrative buildings and things like that. So we would be providing data to those project teams that are selected to implement your proposed solution. Next slide. So this is another topic in the energy efficiency topic or program area. Here we're focused on finding solutions for deployment of heat pumps for space conditioning and water heating. So we expect that we'll be implementing a number of heat pump technologies, both for space heating and for water heating. And we expect that there's going to be a requirement or need for providing decision support tools and information to key stakeholders that are in positions of both making decisions on technologies to procure, but also those contractors and staff who are designing, installing, commissioning, and maintaining this equipment that's relatively new and may require targeted and specific training and support in order to make sure that the technology and particular solutions are supported throughout their life cycle. Next slide. Another topic under the efficiency technology area. This is focused on heat pump solutions for larger HVAC systems. So we're seeking solutions to improve, again, energy efficiency, reduce greenhouse gas emissions for space conditioning systems in our buildings. In particular, we're looking at solutions that can replace common chiller boiler combinations in our facilities. These are harder to decarbonize than some of our smaller HVAC systems. We expect that there might be some hybrid type solutions that would combine both space and water heating, or might include some thermal energy storage to offset peak demand and provide load shifting. Next slide, please. Here's a topic, again, within the efficiency topic area that we've issued now for a few years. I would consider it similar to the first topic that Dr. Leeson issued or talked about on our innovative approaches for tech transfer. This one is kind of unique to the energy and water program area in that we're targeting collaboration with energy services companies to conduct demonstrations of technologies that they believe have high likelihood of transitioning into their future projects for the Department of Defense using the performance contract financing structure or utility energy service contract structure. So here we're seeking ESCOs to participate in lead projects that they believe, like I said, have high likelihood of transitioning to be implemented without subsidy from the ESTCP project or funding. Slide. This is our general water resilience topic. Here we're seeking to demonstrate solutions to improve the overall management of water resources, infrastructure, and assets to ensure reliable, secure, and clean water supply to our installations and operations. This is a topic that we've issued a few years now and very much interested in improving the way we're managing our water resources, but also understanding the availability of water resources on base and off base, and making sure that we have sufficient supply to provide to our critical operations. Next slide. This is a targeted topic under the water security topic area. Here we're specifically looking at solutions to help improve our understanding and awareness of the water infrastructure that we are maintaining currently. In particular, we're interested in solutions to help the department address requirements in the new mandate by EPA that take inventory of water service line materials this upcoming year. This is a area that we understand might require a combination of technologies and also process improvement to better document and record the existing infrastructure and help inform decisions for investments for replacement of that infrastructure. And I think that's it for the topics submitted under installation, energy, and water. And here's a link to the website where you can go and read these topics in more detail. And with that, I will hand it back to Laura, and I think that will start our Q&A session.
Yep, thank you, Tim. All right, so we've received many questions, so I'll go ahead and get us started. So this first one is for Andrea. Is there a limit to the number of pre-proposals that can be submitted per organization?
We do not have a limit. We don't evaluate that. I, of course, caution you that if you submit 10 pre-proposals, you theoretically could be on the hook for 10 full proposals, which would be much more work than anyone would want. So I think it's more of a your own time involved in preparing those. Back to you, Laura.
And I'll give you another general question, Andrea. What is the individual award amount?
Yeah, I'll cover this in terms of award amount as well as duration. We had a few questions come in about both of that. We don't really set a limit on that. We expect a proposal to be submitted for the cost and the duration needed to address the technology questions. Having said that, generally our projects average about 3 years plus or minus, and the cost varies quite widely. Generally, 200 to 500 or 600,000 per year, depending on the technology. We evaluate that carefully, though. Is what is proposed, does it appear to be reasonable for the level of effort? Back to you, Laura.
Okay, this question is for Kevin. Are the 2 resource conservation and resilience topics only open to DoD organizations?
No, they are both open to broad agency applicants. That includes the academic sector, as well as the other federal research agencies. There is a separate topic for DoD specific agencies to apply under. And so just pay attention to the details of the submission screen. But these both topics are available to all participants or all applicants.
Okay, this question is for both John and Tim, maybe more so Tim. Under the topic corrosion, would that cover installation evaporative cooling systems?
We often get this question where a concept might apply to 2 different program areas or topics within different program areas. We do collaborate behind the scenes. So if there is a proposal that's submitted into the energy and water program area, we are all well aware of what the other program areas are interested in, and we'll direct them to the other program areas. So in this case, if there's a proposal that's relevant to both, I would say submit it to either one, and we will work it out to figure out where it lands best.
Okay, this question is for Andrea. How many projects will you expect to fund in the FY25 for the environmental restoration area?
It's probably an impossible question to answer. We will fund as many as our budget allows. So of course, we're in FY25 right now, so we don't have fantastic visibility into what our budget will be in FY25. We'll do the best we can. We generally make the selections, of course, before our FY25 budget is final. So what we do is, projects can be put on hold if we're not clear on our budget. So we'll certainly make use of that if need be. Back to you, Laura.
This question is for John. What technology readiness level is expected at project start and at project finish?
So as far as the start goes, I'd say the minimum would be TRL 4, which is where you're focusing on validating a technology in a laboratory environment. Key thing there is the goal is to not end there, to really get it into the field environment and demonstrate and validate it in the field. So go through TRL 6.
This next question is for Tim. Is the building technology focused on existing buildings or new construction?
It is focused on existing buildings, but solutions for new construction are I guess appropriate as well. But the focus is for retrofit or renovations.
This next question is for Andrea. Are there cost share requirements?
We don't have formal requirements for cost sharing. But, you know, one can certainly submit a proposal that does not have cost sharing elements. However, it's certainly encouraged, and then it's possible, and we do ask for you to detail what sort of cost leveraging or cost sharing there might be when you submit your proposal. Back to you, Laura.
All right, and this is another one for you, Andrea. For the topic on impacted soils and water, will the program consider innovative remediation solutions rather than modeling and monitoring solutions?
That we are really anticipating innovative remediation solutions are generally what make up the bulk of proposals, and we're definitely interested in that. Back to you, Laura.
Okay, this question is for John. For the website, I see that one of your 7 focus areas is waste reduction. Specifically, waste to energy is mentioned. Would it be possible to submit a project for demonstration and validation of a novel waste to energy technology?
Yes, it would. I'd say there are a number of programs that are funding energy development, and it's really important that the particular proposal would really explain why this is something that ESTCP should care about. So obviously the environmental benefits associated with it really need to be detailed well within the proposal. Over.
This question is for Kevin. Is there an official DoD definition for nature-based solutions? Will it be the proposer's burden to prove the proposed solution is a nature-based solution?
We do not supply a DoD definition in this topic, and we do expect that applicants leverage existing definitions and justify their project based on those definitions, as well as the areas that they may choose to study, leaving it open for them to make that justification. Back to you, Laura.
This question is for Tim. In the scalable solutions topic area, would you consider responses that address some but not all of the requested needs and might also address other needs?
I would say yes. If the question is on the design approaches for deep energy retrofits, those sub-bullets that are listed there are all, I think, integral into the solution that we're looking for. But I understand that there might be some of the sub-bullets that may not be necessary or may not fit within what particular solution. But I would say that we're interested in kind of solutions that address all of those.
Okay. A couple quick questions for Andrea. So the first one, is there a process to receive feedback on full proposals if they are not accepted for funding?
Full proposals all come in and brief to the ESTCP staff and technical committee, and we can provide comments back on those upon request. Back to you, Laura. And
then another quick question, is the March 7th deadline for the DoD calls for proposals as well?
Yes, it's the same for every solicitation we release.
All right. Okay, this question is for Kevin. For the cool pavements, does it have to be pavement coated with a highly reflected coating, or can it be a different cool pavement technology?
We don't specify, but we are open to a variety of technologies, as well as the creativity of the proposers. But we definitely are looking for that validation of performance, and that's going to be a key characteristic of a successful proposal under this topic.
This question is for Tim. For the topic energy resilience on DoD installations, is the subject related to permanent installations or is contingency basing included?
Yeah, the focus is on permanent installations, but if there are solutions that apply to both, certainly interested in that as well.
Okay, this question is for Andrea. Can a project budget include tuition for graduate students hired as research assistants to work for the project?
We do cover that. It's perhaps a little less common under ESTCP because of the nature of the projects, but it is possible.
Okay, and then here's another for Tim. The topic on water resilience on DoD installations includes cybersecurity, but not on the energy resilience, which is equally, if not more, targeted by state and non-state cyber attacks. Is this a mission intentional? Would you be interested in cyber resiliency for power systems and high-value applications in DoD installations?
No, it's a good question. That yeah, we are definitely concerned about and interested in the cyber resiliency of our control systems and assets for energy assets. So that was not intended to relay that message that we're not concerned with cybersecurity of energy systems.
Okay, this question is for John. Could you please elaborate on pre-mix solution requirements for fluorine-free foams, such as information on concentration, applications, et cetera?
So one of the things I can say is the shelf life. We're looking at something that would last about a year, just because otherwise, if you're dealing with the acquisition of a chemical such as this, and it's something substantially less than a year, basically you're buying it, you're storing it, and you're throwing it out, or technically disposing of it. And that is just a waste of resources. So something that needs to last about a year. As far as other requirements there, it does not apply exactly to the given mil spec because it is a premix, but I would say the mil spec is a good thing to emulate in terms of what the requirements are going to be, how effective it needs to be in firefighting performance, as well as some other requirements there. So I'd recommend looking at the mil spec.
All right, this question is for Andrea. Do you need to propose something that built on CERDIP work or was funded by CERDIP?
No, you do not. We are happy to entertain proposals that were originally funded by other entities.
Okay, and another for Andrea. If a topic area is limited to DoD, can there be collaboration with industry or another non-DoD organization that involves sending funds to the industry team member? Are DoD team members allowed on proposals submitted to the BAA?
So yes to both of those questions, and let me just elaborate a little bit. So for the solicitation that was released for DoD, that means the lead PI on that proposal must be from a DoD agency, but they can partner with whoever they need to meet the needs of the proposal from industry, other federal organizations, et cetera. Conversely, for a BAA solicitation, the lead must be from a private entity, a university, industry, et cetera, but they can partner with a federal performer, whether DoD or another one. And likewise, for the non-DoD federal organizations, they can be led, for example, by the EPA, and then they can partner with DoD or private entity.
This question is for Tim. Is there a single or multiple DoD preferred building energy models for calibration and verification of building retrofit technologies?
No, we have a variety of building types, and we are open to solutions that address all types, but we're also we would accept proposals that are focused on particular building types that are within our building portfolio. Proposals that get into the full proposal phase, we'll provide data of our building portfolio to help inform that development of the full proposal.
This is another question for you, Tim. What is the difference between the two topics of innovation solutions to improve energy efficiency and scalable design for deep energy retrofits?
So the first one there is the general topic for energy efficiency and improvement to building performance. So that would be, any kind of technology to improve our, building energy efficiency. The second is focused on design approaches and techniques to improve our process for retrofitting and renovating our buildings. And so it's a design focused solution that we're looking for.
Okay, this question is for Andrea. As a private company that provides smart technology manufacturer, would we pass the pass-fail assessment if we're leveraging our existing technology in novel ways to meet the topics presented?
That will be a fairly proposal-specific issue. However, you can certainly leverage an existing technology, use it in a novel way to address a DoD issue. So it's possible that it would still be considered at the correct level for an ESTCP project.
This question is for Kevin. Should the nature-based solutions be demonstrated on the sites within the National Innovation Landscape Network?
That's a great question. The National Innovation Landscape Network is a relatively new accelerated adaptation and tech transfer effort. We are not requiring proposers to interface with that, but we were calling attention to the fact that we are doing accelerated tech transfer in arid ecosystems, and that this call for nature-based solutions is relevant to those efforts. And so we would encourage proposers to take a look at the website and the web link that's in the topic, and see if it's a relevant fit for your proposal and your project. But no, it's not a requirement. Thank you.
Question is for John. Will a pretreatment plus primer combination with improved corrosion protection will be an acceptable system for the DEM validation of corrosion mitigation solutions topic?
So I assume this is for the BAA, in which case there's a possibility it is, but I would say that is really not the intent of the particular topic. The intent is to really look at it from a systems perspective. Pretreatments and primers, we utilize them currently. And they're basically, not to call them particularly a Band-Aid, but we'll use that as a term. They basically, corrosion will occur regardless of them. They just help reduce the amount of corrosion and keep it a little bit under control, but they do not ultimately stop corrosion. And they have particular problems at joints, fasteners, etc. And that's really where we're looking, where we'd like to really see a lot of effort. So.
Okay, this question is for Andrea. Can you please elaborate on what ESTCP is looking for on the last bullet under the ERBAA regarding the impacts of extreme events on long-term remedy protectiveness?
Sure, and I'll just do this briefly, but we are curious if folks can look at traditional remediation approaches, particularly for groundwater that could be impacted by, for example, saltwater intrusion or fluctuating groundwater tables beyond what we might expect under normal or historical situations. So really looking to see what kind of perhaps extreme weather, how they could impact traditional remediation systems.
Okay, this question is for Tim. Does the building efficiency, space, and water heating heat pump topic area necessarily need to include a field demonstration, or would a lab demonstration be sufficient?
Yeah, we have done an allowed lab demonstration. So I would say, depending on the maturity of the technology, it may be appropriate to do a lab based test. We would like you to include a site in coordination with a potential demonstration site following that lab test, but that is it's appropriate, I guess, in some cases, to do a lab test first.
This question is for Andrea. Will you provide direction on how to identify installations to partner with?
To an extent, and we've had a few questions related to this. What we do for folks who are submitting under the BAA, or you're submitting under the federal other than DoD entity, we will partner with you at a DoD liaison at the pre-proposal stage. So once the pre-proposal is submitted, we will partner you with a DoD liaison who is there to help you identify an appropriate installation. Generally, at least come up with a short list before the full proposal is due. What you can do in the pre-proposal is at least state your requirements for a site or an installation that would be appropriate for your technology, so that we can pair you with the correct DoD liaison.
Let's see. All right, another question for Andrea. Can EPA lead an ESTCP demonstration proposal in collaboration with DoD and a commercial entity? What are the limitations on the commercial entity?
Yes, I think I touched on this earlier, but yes, the EPA can lead a proposal under the non-DoD federal call and can then partner with a DoD entity or private sector. Limitation on what was the term that was used, Laura? What are the limitations on what?
On the commercial entity.
We don't really have limitations on the commercial entity as long as they are not from a country that the U.S. can't fund, but there's not too many of them. So we don't really have limitations on that commercial entity.
Okay, this question is for Tim. Are energy efficient windows included in the building related R&D topics in this call?
Yeah, I'll answer this, and there's a couple other questions that might be related. Yeah, so that's a technology that applies or is appropriate for improving the energy efficiency of buildings. So I think it falls within the category. There's a couple other questions here I'm seeing related to the technology readiness level, and then also how ESTCP relates to the DOE's Building Technology Office interest and mission. So we're looking for technologies that are like TRL 6 through 9. So they need to be mature enough to be ready for field demonstration, or in some cases, maybe it's more appropriate, like we just discussed, to have that test be done in a lab for reasons of getting better kind of performance mapping done across different condition sets, and also it's maybe a lot more cost effective to have a test done in the lab than trying to integrate with an active building. Or in terms of the Building Technologies Office, we do collaborate with BTO. They are participants in our technical committee. They tend to fund technologies earlier stage. So they're developing technologies. We keep an eye on technologies that they've funded for potential demonstration through the program. So we are coordinated, but we have a common objective, which is to improve building efficiency. Ours are just focused on military buildings, which are very, very much similar to what you find in the private sector.
This is a question for John. Will the addition of improved inhibitors to pretreatments and/or primers be an acceptable material for the improved corrosion resistance material category?
Yes, so this is a good caveat. Kind of goes off of my previous answer to the question. So this one is actually focused on the DoD topics area, and within that particular area, yes, that would be very much acceptable. So it's not an area of main interest for outside of the DoD topics, but for within the DoD, that is something very much that we would accept.
Okay, this question is for Andrea. Can non-US but NATO-based startups submit white papers, or should they already have a US presence?
No, you can submit a pre-proposal. We are not limited to US-based entities.
Okay, this question is for Tim. For the acquisition, operation, and sustainment of DoD-owned microgrids topic, how do we balance the request for a study with the goal of the ESTCP program to mature and demonstrate specific technology?
Yeah, it's a good question. The topic does explicitly request studies, but we are also open to, because we anticipate that there's a need to understand kind of the problem space a bit more. However, if there are solutions that are readily available that could be applied, we would accept a demonstration of those solutions in addition to maybe an element of study. So I think it's if there's something to demonstrate in that vein, then we're certainly open to that.
All right. This next question is for Andrea. What are the labor rate requirements for private industry applicants?
We comply with all FAR regulations, the federal acquisition regulations. So I can't quote you on what's required, but if selected, our contracting agency would work with you to make sure that you comply with all federal regulations.
Okay, another question for Andrea. Can ESTCP funding pay for equipment, overhead, and administrative and staff costs?
We do typically cover those sorts of costs. Again, if selected for funding, our contracting agency would work with you to make sure everything was in compliance with federal regulations. But typically those sorts of costs are covered.
Okay, this question is for Tim. You mentioned water availability as one of the targeted topics, underwater resilience. What does the technology and demonstration in this area look like?
The idea is that in some locations, the water supply comes from a variety of sources, some of which are well understood, others maybe are not as secure in terms of our access and understanding of its quantity and sufficiency to supply now or into the future. And so solutions could be the technologies could be a number of things. It could be studies and surveying of particular resources. It could be some kind of technology that does that automatically, but that's the general idea.
All right. This question is for Andrea. Is there a template for presenting the costs in the 5-page pre-proposal?
We don't have a template for a pre-proposal cost, and that's because we do not ask for much resolution on the cost detail at the pre-proposal level. You can genuinely just show the total cost per year, and then the total for the entire project, and that is all the breakout we're asking at the pre-proposal stage. If your project is selected to submit a full proposal, it is at that stage that much more detailed costs are required, and a template is required for the cost at that time.
This question is for Kevin. Would a project supporting both the installation and the adjacent defense community be acceptable?
Absolutely. We recognize that the Department of Defense interests, particularly with natural infrastructure, go beyond the fence line. We have very strong partner programs through our REPI office, and the National Innovation Landscape Network was designed to think about our installations as as they exist inside integrated landscapes with other federal and private and municipal partners. So the answer is a resounding yes.
Okay, this one's for Andrea. Can one take a startup research project and with technology and market opportunity pivots, propose it as an ESTCP field scale, pilot scale demonstration?
That'll be a very technology specific question, and you can certainly do that. And what we will do in the program office and our committee, we will look at the technology maturity. I can certainly see cases where something might be under CERTA, and we're looking really at the details of the scientific understanding that's underpinning the technology. But in some applications, it may be ready to also upscale. So it's not impossible. It is something we would look at in terms of technology maturity at the pre-proposal stage.
Okay, this one is another one for Andrea. Can the same organization submit more than one letter of intent?
I think this is referring to, for example, the support from installations, et cetera. And definitely we would welcome more than an organization submit more than one.
This question is for Tim. Would DoD-owned microgrids, for the DoD-owned microgrids topic, would ESTCP help identify these sites?
Yeah, so we for proposals that get past the first kind of pre-proposal stage, for those that were requesting full proposals, we will help connect you with demonstration sites. And in the case of that topic specifically, we'll connect you with resources at installations that have active microgrids to work with.
Okay, this one's for Andrea. For the BAA, how big does the team need to be? Can a startup be the proposer, and can small businesses apply to this opportunity?
Yes, small businesses, startups, et cetera, can apply. We don't limit the investigators by the size of the company. We look at is the team that's proposed appropriate for the size of the project.
Okay, this one's for John. What specific demonstration plan guidelines apply to the topic area of demonstration and validation of PFAS-free foams for firefighting?
So much of that is within the specification, the MIL PRF 32725. And in particular within there is the firefighting performance, the toxicity requirements, as well as the corrosion requirements, that these need to be compatible with a lot of the existing equipment, and therefore corrosion can't happen to a very high degree. So those are the main requirements there. But there are others, and really a lot of it may be in terms of scaling up the technology, that you need to show that you can scale this consistently and make a good product, and potentially various others depending on where the starting point is for the project.
Okay, this question is for Kevin. Approximately what percentage of pre-proposals are selected for full proposals? And out of those for full proposals, approximately how many are awarded? Just trying to get a general idea of success rate.
So that varies wildly among programs and by topic. So it's very hard to give a definitive answer. Our program specifically in resource conservation, which has lasted a little longer than the climate resilience, runs about 15 to 25% of full success rate. That's the pre-proposal to full proposals that are funded. And typically, I think that has probably held true for climate resilience so far. But again, I want to emphasize that it's highly variable and it may not be true of all programs.
I think this is a repeat, but we've gotten it a few times, so maybe worth repeating. Is there a limit? This is for Andrea, sorry. Is there a limit of pre-proposals per entity?
I can just get that then, Laura. Yes, I just talked about letter of intent, but for the pre-proposals themselves, there is no limit per investigator, per organization. It will be on you if you put in a lot of pre-proposals and then you have to write a lot of full proposals. So it's really more your time on the preparation of those, but we don't have a limit.
Okay, and I think we're just about wrapping up, so I'll ask maybe one or two more questions. So this one's for Tim. For the topic on energy resilience on DoD installations, is this more energy infrastructure focused versus energy resilience technologies for DoD installation vehicles?
It's all of the above. So I suggest you kind of interpret that energy resilience kind of broadly. We do have non-tactical vehicles that are part of the mission space on installations, and they require energy. So I would say that they are within the eligibility range there.
All right. I think that about wraps up all of the questions that we received. So Andrea, I'll hand it back to you to close it out.
All right, thank you, Laura. Thank you to all the program managers that were here today to answer all those questions. I really appreciate that. And thank you to everyone who joined the webinar. This is not the end all. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out if your question wasn't addressed, or if you have more questions after hearing our answers. Contact information for each program manager is in the various topics. And thank you again, and good luck on your proposal submittals.